We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Hush now, city kids, gather round for rubbing mitts. Hush now, city kids. When it came to me after so long, I didn't have no choices in the streets where I was from. When I think about the pain, I didn't have no choices. I took what I had sworn. Hush now, city kids, gather round for rubbing mitts. Hush now, city kids.
Good evening and welcome to nufc Matters. Geordies here, Geordies there on a Wednesday night. Delighted as always to welcome George, Stu, Steve, Kev, Alwaleed, Mitch, and a big welcome to Magnus, who you will have seen on the fan supporters show from Iceland. Welcome to the panel tonight, Magnus, and thanks for joining us.
Lovely to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
Good to see you. As always, plenty to talk about on the show. We're going to extend it slightly. Stu sent a message around earlier on saying, why don't we do the FA Cup draw? Maybe worth us covering it. So, yeah, it's a good idea. We'll keep an eye on that just after 7 and see Newcastle against Manchester City getting drawn out live. Okay, George, the game last night, mate. First of all, I hope you're recuperating after your first round with Anthony Joshua last night.
Yes. Yeah, feels like I've had a bucket of sand in my eye for a while, but never mind. We're doing all right. There's lots of folks worse than me. Yeah. Well, the sand was actually kicking in my eye last night, wasn't it?
Yeah. What did you make of it?
Well, it was awful. I mean, we're lucky to be through. But on the other hand, I've got to tell you, all the other big cup runs have always had 2 or 3 banana skins in that we managed to escape. And we'll keep managing to win the ones that matter. And I hope that's an omen after last night, because where do you begin? I wasn't happy with the way they looked when they lined up. You know, when they came out, it was they looked a bit flat, and that's how they played. And frankly, against a Blackburn team, I would have been disappointed if our under 23s couldn't have beat them. And then once Blackburn got into the game and got a bit of the ascendancy, they made life difficult for us, far too difficult, in my opinion. And the positives, well, Dubravka obviously covers himself with glory for lots of reasons, but apart from the penalty saves, he did have a decent game. And others struggle. I mean, I love Bruno, well, doesn't everybody? But I wish he'd get the yellow card and go out for 2 games, because he's playing like a bloke that's playing on hot cinders at the minute. Frightened to do it, in, out, shake it all about. He should have had a hat-trick last night. And it was only his tentativeness that stopped that happening. And why was he tentative? Because he's got this bloody rock on his back of a yellow card and two suspensions. Well, if he's going to play like that, I'd rather he got the suspensions quickly and we moved on. I thought the centre-back pairings did reasonably well, but Shaw wasn't at his best again. You know, there seems to be something about him at the moment. But yeah, after that, it was you sort of heaved a sigh of relief when Gordon scored, because he looked like the only one that would. but lo and behold, it didn't last more than 8 minutes, and it was 1-1 against as I say, a very ordinary team who haven't won for 13 games, something like. I mean, it really is nightmare territory to be in that position we were in. If there's another big positive, is we won a penalty shootout, for God's sake. That's not something we're used to doing. We're used to biting our fingernails and getting past the nails and getting down to the first knuckle before we win penalty shootouts. So that at least. Other positives, people coming back. I thought young Anderson showed a lot of courage, a lot of mettle, getting involved as he's been out, and then striding up to take a penalty like a seasoned competitor, better than some of the more seasoned people on the pitch, like Harvey Barnes. There were some positives. Big positive. Well, the big positives we're through. We're through. Whether it's by the skin of our teeth or not, but I don't want to go on too long because most of the things I want to say are fairly negative. But we were flat last night again, in a way in which we haven't been. And I go back to where I've been saying to you lads for a while, certainly since the Luton game. I'm still of the opinion that there's something wrong in the dressing room. There's not smiles on faces like there used to be. Even last night, Miggy was angry. He wasn't the Miggy we know. In fact, I think there was one part where he actually used rude words to their goalkeeper because you could read the words on his lips. That's not him. I hate to say it, Brad. I'm still of the view that there's some sort of issue around it in the back room, in the background, and it's not doing any good. But hey, so what? What do I know about it? We're through. We're through the next round, and let's look forward to it. I'm sure that the people drawing it tonight, they'll all have the right balls in the freezer now, so that people know which one to pick out. Not that I'm suggesting for 1 minute that it's corrupt, but yeah, there's one other thing. This is the FA Cup. The principle of the FA Cup is that whether you're Whitley Bay, Heaton Stannington, or anybody in the FA Cup, you're all the same. Whether it's millionaires at St James's Park or paupers at Whitley Bay, you all start the same. Well, we didn't all start the same last night. Some people had VAR, God help them, and some people didn't have VAR. And I think that's a crucial principle of the FA Cup going down the pan because of the people who want to play silly beggars with our games. So please stop playing silly beggars and just let's all play the same game. No VAR. If it's not on for one club, it shouldn't be on for any club. And that's it. But we're through, lads. Hey, hooray. That can be positive.
Dear Vetch said that would be Man City versus Newcastle, Steve. Just replying to what I said earlier on. Yeah, you're right, David. I hope not. Stu, we can all look at the negatives, I guess. It's very difficult to accentuate the positives when you're playing a team that hasn't done well in the Championship. But I guess it's a potential banana skin. Could have gone the other way. We could be sitting here looking at being out, and it could have been even worse. We're through. We're one game away from a Wembley. A Wembley performance in a semi-final.
Yeah, I'll start with the positives because that shouldn't take too long. George got it bang right. We're in the draw for the next round, and that was the intention at the start of the game, and so it's mission accomplished that way. We've got players coming back. Have we got any more straws left for us to try and grasp? For me, what it was yesterday, and I know it's not the first time, but yesterday was a time to right a lot of wrongs against a team that was in a bad run of form, a league below us, and Newcastle United with confidence would have swept them aside comfortably. And I think what it was ponderous, it was pedestrian and predictable, the play. What it wasn't, and what we were renowned for last season, was playing with pace, power and precision. So there's a lot of P's there, but that's the difference between last season and this season. We can't keep blaming injuries constantly because a lot of the players are back now and they're just going to bed themselves in. So yeah, mission accomplished. But for me, it's not what was done; it's how it was done. And thankfully, we were playing a team that are man for man worse than our team. And we're talking about teams. I say to my sales team, if you go, are you going to wait for something to happen, or are you going to make it happen? What will benefit you most? What do you control? What are you going to do about it? And it seems to me like the players just to be coasting through, and they're lacking a bit of pride in the performance, which is something that you can't really normally associate with any house team, especially since he's come to Newcastle. So, but I'm off the opinion, if you take the claps, you've got to take the slaps as well. The first half, they were totally bereft of confidence. The second half was very much workmanlike and just going through the motions. And there's questions that, I mean, Dan Burn came back in after a lot of criticism. He had a decent game. But what I can't understand is the guy's 6'7". Why negate his height when we're in an attacking position from a corner to have him standing still on the 6-yard box? He should be coming in, steaming in from the edge of the box and attacking the ball. Someone of that height, it doesn't make no sense. I expect him to jump from a standing position. It takes his height advantage away. There's, you know, the more you play with fear of making a mistake, the more likely you are to make a mistake as well. And that's again goes back to confidence, and that's what you've seen with a lot of the team last night. They were scared to try something different, so they'll take the easy option. And I know I alluded to it as cheating on the professionals. It's not cheating, but it is taking the easy option instead of having belief in their own ability and saying, right, I'm going to take this game by the scruff of the neck and play with a bit of power and passion and everything else that we've been used to. So maybe we've been spoiled with it. But I was speaking to the Heat before, who I know he met Steve and Keith and Mr. JJA last night at the game. See, these people with money in the corporates, that's something I can't relate to. But anyway, I was speaking to him, and he's driving back now so he must have had a heavy night last night with his son Callum. So hello to them both because they're listening in the car. And he says, right, whoever we're getting the quarterfinal, we're going. So it looks like we're back in Newcastle in a couple of weeks' time, because we might not get to a semi-final. I might as well say it's like a quarterfinal. So I'll come across. I committed to him that I'll do it. So let's see what the draw is in an hour's time, and we'll plot the flights, etc. You're on mute, Steve, I think.
I'm back in the kitchen, lads. Remember when I used to do broadcasts from the kitchen in lockdown? So I've got the family moving around the right and centre. So forgive us if I keep going on mute, lads. Okay, yeah, Steve, our roving reporter from last night. Steve, you did a cracking job. You've got the job, mate. You were like, it was like Martin Tyler, Jimmy Hill, Brian Moore rolled into one last night, mate. You did a great job.
That sounds terrible. That I did my best. I think it was the cameraman who got the short straw, mate. No, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, pleasure to be there. I mean, I've got to say the hospitality that Blackburn did was excellent. I mean, they did make everybody welcome, well organised. If I would say anything, despite the small crowd of home fans, I think Blackburn is one of those teams that really does deserve to be up in the Premiership. It's a shame that they've been out for so long. I think that club could bring so much to the Premiership just from their organisation, but that's a different story. Getting onto the game, Steve, I thought we played yet again without learning anything. Tip-tap football, very little penetration. Failed to string the passes together. We didn't press as a unit, which has been a failing of us for a few games now. We're not defending from the front. We're lacking any form of transitional play. When we do break, it seems to be one player breaking and nobody else supporting him. I'll leave the rest of that for Kev to dissect. And then from a coaching point of view, again, something for Kev, I'm sure. We stick to a formation regardless of the opposition. We don't seem to adjust. We don't seem to take anything in. I find that quite disappointing. There are times when you look at it and you go, why have you gone like that? Why? Where's the support play? Why have you left someone isolated? It's a very frustrating time to watch Newcastle at the moment. But then we go into a penalty shootout. The tension was unbearable, I must admit. I think the shoulder still got pain on that side and that side from Messers sticking their fingers in and God, we're gonna, you can imagine what it was like. Sometimes you had your hands over your eyes, other times you didn't want to look. I sent you guys a little video. I recorded it. You could see on the recording of the penalty shootout what it was like when the stand started bouncing, because I had that camera on my phone. I had the phone leaning against the plexiglass. And of course, that was the vibrations you could see was the vibration caused from the guys upstairs and the guys below jumping up and down, as well as Keith banging on the glass. So, I'm just giving you a little bit of flavour of what it was like during the penalty shootout. But I think George summed it up. The most important thing is we've got through. We're into the hat for the last 8. We're number 1 out of 8. We'll rattle through the numbers later on before the draw, and then we'll see where we all think who we're going to end up with. I think what we should do is we should just all pick a number. There's 8 of us. We should all pick a number and see where we end up and see who gets the short straw at the end of it.
Okay, good stuff. Mitch, your views on the game last night? Our second roving reporter who gave us the half-time analysis.
It was a hard watch.
It was.
And from the off, there seemed to be something. For me, it was like an urgency just wasn't there. If we'd made a bit more urgency, the talent was always going to carry work, or it should have done. We seem to be half a yard off nearly all night now. How much of that was a bit of a hangover from the Arsenal game, with a feeling a little sorry for themselves? But normally that would make a lot of teams, come out there fighting a bit harder, but we look very one-paced. And at times the masters of our own downfall. The amount of times we gave the ball away in dangerous positions that allowed them to have a shot on target. And it was always going to come from a mistake of ours if they were going to score, and that's exactly what it did. The positioning for that throw, and for Lascelles to let it go over his head the way he did, that then got into trouble and allowed them to equalise. Dubravka did more than just save penalties. In fact, I think his best save was in the run-up to that goal. He managed to tip the ball onto the bar, and he had no right to get anywhere near it. And we shouldn't, in all honesty, if we're talking about, and the club themselves are talking about, making statements like, we want to be challenging for this and we want to be doing this regularly. We have to see a championship team that has won 1 in 12 or something like that off much more convincingly than that, and not rely on penalty shootout. And not take me till 2:30 in the bloody morning before I got in. Thanks for that, lads. Really appreciate that.
It was nearly 2 o'clock, yeah.
Hmm?
It was nearly 2 o'clock, yeah, when it finished.
It was close to 3. Yeah, and it's super frustrating because we just don't look like the same team in any way, shape, or form at the minute. And yeah, like you say, there's other things about this competition frustrate me now. Midweek rounds and straight extra time and no replays for certain rounds and replays in other rounds. VAR at some grounds and not at others. And the minute the competition gets like that, it's a shambles. That's just as much of potluck as the draw itself. It's not only are you thinking where we're going on the draw and what playing conditions are we going to be under when we get there. That doesn't seem right to me. So, I can sit and whinge and complain as much as I like, but that really was a tough watch last night for the late shift here in Dubai, especially.
Alvalid, on to you, mate. FA Cup, we're into the quarterfinals. What did you make of the game last night?
First of all, it's Alan Shearer derby. It was really enjoyable to watch. I know it's a hard game after getting beat from Arsenal. And I remember see some footage on Eddie Howe. he was so frustrated at the end of the game. I can I understand this. Blackburn, Newcastle will not handle this very well if we lose against championship team. But gladly that we are in the quarterfinal. Also, a great shout out to Dubravka, who's always being a good server for the club. I'm just saying this because unfortunately here in Saudi Arabia, a lot of fans doesn't know Dubravka and doesn't know the dark days, as you said, speaking. I remember, Steve, how Dubravka saved us from very embarrassing moments. He was really a great goalkeeper, and maybe he wasn't lucky, maybe getting the first spot for the goalkeeper, but really he deserved this moment yesterday. And I wish to go to the final this time for FA Cup, because we all know Newcastle is the FA Cup king, or Cup king, as the name. I'm happy, and actually I'm sleepy because the last night, as the lads from Bahrain and Dubai, but I didn't sleep because I was afraid to miss the show. So my eyes are so small now.
Well done, Al-Walid. Well done. On to you, Magnus. What was your views on the game last night, mate?
Like, I'm just as glad as the rest of you to be through to the quarterfinals. But I mean, it has to be a worrying sign that we are struggling so bad against a lower end championship club. However, the performances of Dubravka at the back being demanding and making those saves, and also Gordon leading the line up front, it's a sign of better things. I mean, this is the FA Cup. Everybody goes all in, and I could see a lot of kicks, and I was actually quite just glad to see that nobody got injured in this game. After all the bad luck that we've had this season, I think we were blessed with not getting any more injuries. The passing rate of Lascelles and Schär was fantastic, however, I mean, with only one mistake of Lascelles costing us the goal, it's a little unsettling. But I mean, maybe this is a pairing that needs to be tried out a little bit more. Yeah, and as I said to you on the last podcast, I was happy for my country fella that actually plays for Blackburn, the Arnold Sigurdsson. I wanted him to perform on the big stage. However, not too well. I wanted him to make an impression and hopefully get noticed by Newcastle, because he's a very versatile player. He made the crossing that ended up as like the third pass into their equalizing goal, and he only came on in halftime and sort of created 3 chances and scored his penalty. So a very versatile player that can play on both wings and down the hole and up front. I'm not saying that he's going to be, but we are looking to build our squad. I think this might be a good idea of someone that can be shortlisted by Newcastle United. But yeah, I'm really pleased to be through. I was there last time we had a penalty shootout when Bruno took a penalty against Crystal Palace. So I must say I was extremely nervous when he stepped up to the spot. But yeah, thankfully he put it away and no issues. But this is nerve-wracking, and I think we can do better. Maybe the players are dealing a little bit with the awful performance last weekend, where I was relatively optimistic for that one. But Dubravka being questioned in his position really showed us why he is the number 2 in the squad. It was maybe a borderline of losing his number 2 spot after not so bad performance of Lourdes Karius. So that is kind of how I feel. Really glad to be in the pot. Hope to get a decent draw in the next round.
Yes, well, we'll know in the next 45 minutes who Newcastle have got. We will be staying with you until the FA Cup draw is made. Might have to rely on somebody else because I don't have a TV in the kitchen, lads. So if anyone's got their TV on, they can do it. Kev, give us your coach's perspective then of last night. What did we see? What didn't we see? Was it simply down to the fact that Newcastle were poor last night, do you think, or did Blackburn do something last night which threw a spoke in Eddie Howe's plans?
I don't think so. I think we knew what we were going to get from Blackburn. They're at home in the FA Cup against Newcastle United, so they were going to come flying out the traps regardless. It's the FA Cup to get through to a quarter final for them. That's massive financially, and again, you're beating a big team in the Premier League, so they had massive motivation to get through. But I think for me, it was the lack of control from minute one, the lack of taking control of the game. We didn't take control of the situation, the emotion. We just didn't do that, and that was poor across the board. I could have used another word. The performance itself, or almost turned it off multiple times. Just based on like what Mitch said, it was a very, very poor watch again, and it's becoming boring, mundane. I don't know who I think Stu or Mitch said. George said it's methodical. It's one-paced. There's no. I think there's no trust within the manager of what he's setting out in terms of his game plan and his game models and his philosophies anymore. And I had a conversation with another coach last night, and talking about it, and he's a Man United fan and all the rest of it. And I said, well, look, all the top coaches in the world tweak and manipulate and change something somewhere somehow if that's a shape, if that's players. Regardless if they're injured or not, regardless who's on the bench, who's available. I'm sorry, if you're good, if you want to be a top level coach, or if you are a top level coach, you have to tinker, you have to change, you have to do whatever. But I thought it was, again, we got through. I thought it was one of Martin Dubravka's better games that he's been since he's been at the club. I thought that the save that he tipped onto the ball for their equaliser was a good save, but the one for me was in the first half when we gave it away and they broke down on the inside and he tipped it around the post when the ball came across his 6-yard box. I thought that was a fabulous save. But yeah, I'm just looking all the way through my notes, what I've written down, to be honest. And just what Stu said in terms of fear of making mistakes. Again, if you can't make a mistake, if you are again, but that's the unwillingness of the game to execute the game plan. I say I don't know, Steve Hasty or whoever playing whatever position, or Stu even at centre half, play out from the back, and you don't do that. Yes, it's a fearfulness, but if you don't implement the coach's game plan, then there's a confidence within that structure from the coach and the coaching team, and that's what I put in the chat on Monday. Again, excuse me, the trust, the confidence of the head coach, and I think that's where it all boils down to and stems to, and I think that's where the arguments are coming from. I think that's going to agree with George in terms of Miggy not smiling and doing whatever, saying to the goalkeeper, But again, as the game went on, we got better, but the quality in that final third was diabolical. It was disgraceful. I mean, the Sean Longstaff one from 6 yards, you've got to score. Anthony Gordon breaking away and breaking between the lines, you have to score. Harvey Barnes, when the ball comes down to him on his left side, why go with a volley? Why can't you just take a touch on your inside touch onto your right foot and just slot it into the other corner? So it's moments in the game of quality in the game where we could actually blow them away in latter stages. Based on that, we're a fitter side. Based on that, we're a better quality of side. But finally, fair play to Blackburn. They give it a go. They give it a right good go, and they showed. Not that I didn't know who was a Premier League team, but it was showing who was trying to go and win the game. I think we were there to see what we could get and just muddle our way through the game. And we did somehow. And I didn't even watch extra time. I didn't even see the penalties because I had to go to work. Only seen 90 minutes, thankfully, again. But you know, it was one of them ones. Like he was actually sitting there watching it in the nice corporate hospitality bit. Of the nervousness of getting to those latter parts of the stage in the game. So I was checking, trying to set up and all the rest of it. And, you know, you get notifications and all this sort of stuff. And you see Harvey Barnes miss and you think, oh, no, here we go. The wheels are going to fall off in this penalty shootout. But it didn't. And we got through. And again, Mitch always beats on this room. You don't put on the trophy what results were and how it happened. It's like a golf scorecard. You don't put how every little detail of your score on each hole. That you just put the number and that's it, and you move on. So look, we're through. We'll move on. We've got a big now, even probably a bigger game because based on where we are in the position in the division against Wolves. And they're no pushovers. They're a pretty good side in terms of what Gary O'Neill's done. So again, you got to take what we got. But my big overarching thing is I think the team are losing confidence in the philosophies in the game model, where Eddie Howe's trying to execute and get across to the players. And I'll stick my neck out and just say if he's here in the summer, without getting into Europe or even reaching the final, I wouldn't be surprised if no political intention she'd pull the trigger on him and he'd be gone. I think he's just stopping up now at this point.
Interesting. All about opinions. That's what Geordies here, Geordie there brings you on a Wednesday night. Cup draw on its way as well in the next 40 minutes. Here's the ads. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. Go to their website, skipsandbins.com. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com or telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Easy contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Go to their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to United Group Travel. Go to their website, unitedgrouptravel.com. Email info@unitedgrouptravel.com or phone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. They're a local company from Morpeth and there are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. Big thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the video side of things. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, hit the subscribe button under the video. Click the thumb up to like the video and click share to share to your social media. If you want to help the channel financially, you can pay a one-off £25 fee. You get a cup, a scarf, a pen and a membership card and entry into the NUFC Matters monthly draw. Email john@nufcmatters.com for more details, or if you've got a smartphone, scan the QR code now and it takes you straight to the membership pack. We also support the food bank on this channel. Go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk and you'll find the matchday bucket. You can make a donation virtually today. You can also find us on iTunes, Spotify and other podcast providers. We also do events during the year. NUFC Matters Live will be at the O2 City Hall on Friday the 2nd of August for an evening with Rob Lee, one night in Antwerp. Tickets start at £15 and you can get them from ticketmaster.co.uk. An evening with the entertainers takes place on Friday the 24th of January 2025 at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House in Newcastle. Telephone 0844 249 1000 or visit the website tynetheatreandoperahouse.uk to buy tickets today. You can also catch me on the North East Footy Breakfast Show live on Toon Radio weekdays 7 till 9 a.m. on DAB, smart speakers and the toonuk.com. Okay, every Wednesday night we also have a bit of this. Okay, Callum Wilson was the question that we saw in the chat. George, can you ask George, would you keep or sell Wilson at the end of the season?
Gone for me, please. He's brilliant when he's on and he's getting the game, but his legs are glass now. I think we've got to bite the bullet and say we need at least two fit strikers. that can play up front. And I'm taking Isak out of that picture because Isak is not, in my mind, the sort of number 9 we need in the Premiership. He's a great player, but he's a better player when he's playing off a number 9. So Callum would go, I'm afraid, and I'd have at least 2 in his place in the summer.
Tom Dixon says as well, ask George, where do you think Newcastle are going to finish in the league this season?
Well, on the last 2 performances, we'll be looking to be in the top half.
Okay, good stuff. I'm not sure what game John was talking about here. Was it 48 years ago? How long?
It's a League Cup final.
All right, okay. What, the 76?
76, aye.
George, were you at that game?
No, I wasn't at the League Cup final, no, it was that the Dennis Churt Cup final.
Yes, the overhead kick.
Yeah. No, I wasn't there at that one. No,
I was there.
Any memories, Steve?
Yeah, some great memories. Drive down on the morning, 3 o'clock kickoff. Drive back, 5 of us squeezed into a car. Me, my dad, Tony Ferguson up the road, and his dad and his workmate. As for the game, it was rubbish.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. That is your little section of Ask George. This week we will fit that in again next week if we can. George Bainbridge asked a question earlier on. He says, does the panel think that the court of public opinion is starting to turn against the top 6 having too much influence on financial matters? Kevin, you always have to wait till last, so I'm going to go to you first on that one. Do you think that the court of public opinion is starting to turn against the top 6 now? There seems to be a lot going on. What's your thoughts on that question?
It's coming across that way. It's becoming obvious they're trying to, separate themselves even further from the other 14 clubs in the Premier League and plus those in the AFL, even down all the way into probably lower echelons of the league, grassroots, all the rest of it. So they're just trying to keep their finger, have their big pot, and everybody else has their own. And it's, again, that anti-competition thing. It's football's a business, so I think they're just trying to, again, we're the best, we're the upper top end of it. Yeah, everybody else has got to fight for a piece of the pie, and stick within their means, and they can just pretty much do what they want, essentially. Yes, not a financier or a financial expert, but at the same time, I just think the public court of opinion is getting rather agitated of how things are going, and the lack of transparency from the Premier League to what's happening within English football and within the FA and all the powers that be.
Okay, what's your thoughts, Al Walid? Is the worm turning? Do you think that the big 6 are becoming they're under more scrutiny now?
Well, to be honest, I just know that there is something called court of opinion. But we need really to, of course, keep fighting this top 6 thing because it's not fair, really, regarding financial. When you see some teams, without no mentioning of the team name, but when you see some teams struggling, they can't sign any player because the financial, it seems really not fair. And this rules always change for the top 6 sake. So if this is going on, we should really keep supporting that to at least have fair rules for every teams.
Okay. We've talked a lot about the big 6, Mitch, on this channel. Newcastle were gate crashing that last season. They were going to be, even some media called it the big 7. Do you think things are catching up with the so-called big 6?
I've found it fascinating over the last 3 or 4 months in particular to hear fans of other clubs starting to use phrases regularly that they took the piss out of us for using during the takeover period. And they're using them now like it's an accepted concept. Whereas when it was us, it was used as a base to ridicule us with sometimes. I think there's absolutely no doubt that the game's up for some of them, and I find one person whose words recently have really stood out to me is Christian Purslow. Now, whether he's angling for a job with someone or not, I don't know, but to find is someone who's worked with Liverpool using similar kind of language and similar kind of phrases is quite remarkable, really. So yeah, that's what I've seen it evolve into. It's that perhaps the scales are being taken off of a lot of people's eyes in football, not just supporters, but people in football in general. Or maybe some of those like Purslow who've known what was going on really are emboldened to finally put their head above the parapet and speak out. I'm not really sure which, or is it a little bit of both? But it does amuse me rather to hear a lot of the people who, even in our own fan base, who at times were keen to question some of the stuff we talked about on Amigos in particular over time, now using the exact same phrases and tripping off their tongue that we were using months ago. So yeah, perhaps we are seeing a different view of the world and people feeling more comfortable to talk about it, perhaps.
What's your thoughts, Magnus, on the top six? Are they finally seeing their, we're going to get their comeuppance, as we would say?
Yeah, I mean, I think the gap is just getting bigger. I find it amazing that they were so quick on punishing Everton for one foul play. At the same time, where allegedly Man City have not cooperated, and they are still in the top fight, and with quite a lot of allegations on their backs. It just makes me feel like we it's becoming obvious that we are walking a little bit on eggshells. Trying to please them in every possible way. So I mean, I can understand why we're trying to build to the future. It looks like it's one of the only ways to maybe break those top six, and believe me, I would really love to see that happen. And I don't like to see the same champions year after year. I'm tired of it. And that was the same case back in the day when Man United were dominating everything. I'm not comparing the two stories, but the gap seems big, and I think it's a little bit sad that we can't boost our team a little bit, even only just for one season, and then run it in a profit on the next year. So I think the gap is only getting bigger, and I think it's really sad. The rules are made to keep the top six in place, and the rest can just fight for the best of the rest a little bit here.
Okay, Steve, thoughts on this? It's a good question by George.
It's a great question. Yeah, I heard somebody on a radio program the other day describe the Premier League meeting as the best episode of Traitors that you could possibly ever watch, because they literally are stabbing each other in the back. They're going in face up, and then they come out and they've stabbed each other back. The meetings are supposed to be 20 clubs acting collectively and making decisions that are from the best interests of football in a whole in the round. What they're actually doing is they're all going in there and they're all cutting each other's throats. I think there's the top five as opposed to top six, because I think City have been cast adrift because of the 115 charges that are hanging against them, and I think they're railing against certain things. But I think they feel as though they've got another type of ring-fenced sort of protection around them, whatever that is. But I think we also have maybe 3 or 4 clubs in the 20 who are sitting there who want to be friends with the top 5, top 6. So I think for a long, long time they've gone along with decisions in the hope that they'll get something back in return. I think Everton were one of those clubs, and I think that the way that Everton have suddenly hit the wall, and the way that the Premier League then went about penalising them has sent a shockwave through some of the other clubs. both below and, more importantly, above. Because remember, the Premier League handed over the penalty that was going to be imposed to an independent commission to look at. So they said, look, we've done the investigation. They've breached the rules. They're the rules that we think they've been breached. Independently, we want you to come up with a penalty. And I think the top six or top five, as I described them, I think they were shocked, because I think they suddenly went, oh God, but for the grace go I. It's interesting, earlier in the season and at the start of the season, when Manchester United and Chelsea were caught out, they were just described by the Premier League as technical breaches. When it became Everton, it became the most serious breach you've ever known in the world. And it was, they literally had them on the guillotine, didn't they? That's the sort of thing that's gone on for years. I think the tide is turning, but I think it's turning only because it's starting to affect the top six. And I think what they will come up with is some sort of knitted together solution that helps them, seems to help the rest of the league, but in reality only helps them to keep the status quo, but allow us to spend, everybody can spend more money, but we will always, as a top six, be able to spend much, much more than you on a sliding scale that only goes up for them and not down.
Okay, Stu, over to you. I'm having a few technical issues here, so I'll hand over to you.
Right, no problem. Well, I know I've mentioned on many shows over the last months that it's nonsensical. You can't spend your own money to improve your own business. And I think this is what's now getting the other 14 clubs is becoming apparent to the masses now that it's nigh and impossible to bridge the gap, because you can generate more money, but you'll never be able to generate as much as they can, because it's already set in place. So until there's a huge overhaul, it's not going to change. And it's a bit like, I suppose, you're motor racing when you have your top cars with the bigger budgets, they can spend more than the other ones. And it takes out what football is. It's the people's sport. But now it's got too globalized, and greed is the killer. There's a massive global fan base for these top six. Some deserved, some historical, some false. But for me, the charges to change it should be debt related. How can Man United go and spend 200 million this summer when they've got nearly $1 billion in debt? Same with Tottenham. How can they be allowed to go and spend more money to increase their debt, where you've got clubs who are run very well, or clubs with no debt at all, aren't allowed to spend the same money? They get penalised for doing so. So to me, why don't they change it to that? Make it debt related, because I can guarantee you they won't do that. Also, I know people keep jumping on the Man City to Everton to Forest, but they are different. Everton admitted their guilt, and they were blatantly guilty. Man City are denying it, and this is where it gets too political as well. But for me, there should be a transparency on points deductions. It shouldn't just be ad hoc and on individual clubs. You know what I mean? It's like, there shouldn't be team related, right? Okay, it's Everton, we'll give you 10. No, we'll change it to 6. People should know before a season starts what the punishment would be for whatever their crime is. And then it's up to that club. Do they want to take on the risk of, like, I know it's been mentioned, I've seen it a few times this week. Let's just say if Newcastle know they're going to get the maximum fine or point deduction they get would be 6. I think that would open the floodgates to let's go and spend it. And if that 6 points is the difference between the Champions League and Europa League next season, I think they take that, because they'd have a squad that would waltz into the Premier League, the Champions League the year after, and they've bridged the gap. And that's why they won't allow it, because they don't want their little cartel clique being challenged, because they want all the shiny marbles and they don't want to share them. So if they say, right, if you've done this, that's your point deduction. If you do that, that's your point deduction. If you do that, that's your fine. Make it clear so everyone knows the rules. Don't make them up as you go along just to punish whoever suits you. And eventually, when the Man City thing comes around, I honestly think there'll be a deal done before it gets to the court. And it'll be, okay, we'll pay this, we'll take that, we'll do this. And it'll be enough to if they went through all the charges, if they were all proven to be guilty, they should have no choice but to throw them out the league. But then the Premier League don't get the benefit of Man City and their supporters and the fans and the money it brings in and everything else. So that's where it's changed. You've got to have rules that apply to everyone and not just a certain few being favoured against the others. So whether it gets fixed, whether it doesn't get fixed, I think a change is coming, and it has to. And we are in the box seat to be the most beneficial club from it, because we have the most money and we have more than the rest of them combined and then some. So yes, they don't want Newcastle to benefit from it, but they're going to have to let someone in sooner or later, because the attraction of the Premier League will stop if it gets to the stage where, well, what's the point if only one of 4 or 5 teams are going to win it? It makes absolutely no difference. And it stops it becoming what it is. It's like even last night, we're all frustrated about Newcastle's performance, but that's the magic of the FA Cup, isn't it? The teams raise themselves, and you get to a stage where you think, we're playing Arsenal away, and not many of us give us chances. We're playing Man City away, not many would give us chances. It should be a level playing field where everyone on the day should be able to beat, because they want the rules to suit themselves money-wise. So what happens if they said, right, this is every team is like they do with that motor racing thing. This is your budget for the year. That's all you can spend. That's it. Then the best players or the best coach becomes the best team in the league. But that won't suit them either, because then there would be a restriction of them making money. So carry on making money, but you shouldn't be allowed to stop other people making money or other people spending their own money. As long as they can prove that they've got the money to spend, why shouldn't they be allowed to spend it?
Good points. What's your thoughts on this one, George?
Well, it interests everybody, and I don't want to repeat it because I think it is fascinating. It's almost as though other fans have been listening to our programs. Some of the things they're saying are so poignant to the discussions we've been having a long time, particularly Neil, Steve, and the other Steve, and Stu, and latterly. But the other thing I've noticed about the fans bringing in, other fans bringing in, is there was a good one on Twitter the other day from a guy at I think it was an Everton fan saying, "Hold on, our friends up the road in Manchester have just their debt's just gone up to £1 billion, and they can spend what they like.
Exactly.
We haven't got any debt, or relatively speaking, and we get bashed with points deduction, and we can't buy players. How can that be fair?" And I like to see that other fans are thinking like that. And if the fans are thinking like that, I suspect there are people in the other boardrooms starting to think like that, which I think is very important. And that we're not far away from a Premier League meeting where the big six don't hold sway. The others turn against them, because Manchester City must feel very insecure at the moment, despite that power and all their money. And I don't think they would vote with the big six. And I predicted about a week ago or more ago that I still feel that Amanda Staveley's slowly ebbing her way out of Newcastle United. And I think the last thing she'll do for us is sort out the Premier League and get rid of this awful system. It has nothing to give the game. And all it has is greedy people taken out of the game. And for a fan, and you know, that's me. I'm a fan. I want Newcastle United the best, but I want Newcastle United the best on a level playing field. You know, as Stu says, why shouldn't be able to spend the money that's rightfully belongs to our owners and so on? And if that means others have to catch up, well, that's what other people have been doing with them. But as I say, I do like now and again people from other clubs suddenly saying, "Well, hold on, they're $1 billion in debt. Spurs are $1 billion in debt. Chelsea are $1 billion. How is it they can spend all this money and we can't do anything?" And I think that that's the bit of the equation that will upset the apple cart, in my view. But it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating to see it all playing out, and how the big six are scrambling around one another to protect their own position. And I've got to say, mind, having said that, if we changed it tomorrow, the European rules don't help with either. However, there's been court action in Belgium recently that must have made the UEFA tremble a little bit with clubs in Belgium being taken to court. So there's a mood, I think, in football for a big change, but nowhere more than in the UK at the moment. And it is good and sensible that other fans, like the Everton fans, I mean, they're just like us. They just want a team to win, and they're being kicked to death at the moment. Is that right? Nottingham Forest fans as well, when City have got this 100 and whatever it is charges hanging around their neck and nothing seams to be happening.
George, the difference, Forest can afford to spend the money that they spend. Everton can't.
Yeah,
So
but yes, but in terms of values, Stu, how are you? We're talking about 25 millions instead of 250 millions. That's the difference in scale, isn't it? And if you're an Everton fan, you're bound to feel that's unfair.
Well, I'm sure this conversation will go on. Lots of conversations about these kind of things, do tend to take up best part of the show. So I am going to move on from it. I can see a few questions coming in, but we might dig a little bit into this during the Amigos or the professionals over the course of the weekend. Got about 15 minutes, I think, until the draw starts. We will take you through to the draw and discuss it. So let's go around the board. George, start with you. Who would you like to see in the FA Cup? Would you like to see anybody at home, or have you got a specific team that you would like to see in the draw?
Oh, yeah.
Coventry, everybody says.
I agree. I mean, I want to be through. Let's face it. But at the moment, the way we're playing, we're not certain against anybody at the minute, are we? As long as it's not one of the teams that's in the freezer box at the moment. Coventry would be fine. I want to be through. So whatever it is, but the chances are, of it happening are between 1 and 50 million, I think. So yeah, fingers crossed that whichever team. As long as it's at home, I think we're on our day. We can beat anybody. That's the big thing for me. The weakest team in the draw, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I'm an enthusiast, but I'm also a greedy little duck. I want I want it all. I want it all.
Stu, what's your thoughts?
I just want to ask. At the 76 final, Steve Hayes went. Did you go corporate there as well, Steve?
No. I was buying the goal. £2 a ticket.
No tight money, I'll tell you that. Right there for the draw, I think. The question I want to ask: if Bruno gets yellow carded on Saturday, he misses a Chelsea game. Is it the next Premier League game he misses, or is it the FA Cup quarter final?
Oh, it's a good question. I'll have to find that.
If it's the 2 Premier League games, I can see him getting carded on Saturday, and that'll give him a good rest, like a 2-week rest before the quarter final, because that is the focus, as everyone keeps trying to tell us. But for the draw, I think that this is my prediction, so we can all laugh how incredibly wrong I was when the draw comes out. I think Chelsea will get Leicester, Man United will get Coventry, Liverpool will get Man City, and we'll get Wolves. And that's what I wrote with the big pencil, but it's got that on in case I get it wrong. Swap it round. I think we'll get Wolves, Liverpool versus Man City, Man United, Coventry, Chelsea, Leicester.
Here's the rules. New rules have been brought in this season, which means changes across many areas, including the yellow and red card system. In the past, yellow cards picked up in the Premier League, Football League, FA Cup, or Carabao Cup would be added up together. This meant 5 yellow cards across all competitions would result in a player missing 1 match. In whichever competition they would have been playing in next. However, the changes this season say yellow cards only counting in the competitions that they are received. Red cards will continue to count across all competitions. I'm not sure whether that's this year or not. There's no date on that. So
blue cards, Steve?
Blue cards haven't come in yet. Let's see if I can find something a bit more whilst we get Steve's prediction. What would you like to see, Steve? Obviously the easiest draw, but I mean, we're not playing particularly well at home, Steve.
Exactly. I mean, would we want another away draw? That would mean that we had gone through every tie if we managed to get the final. playing away, never having a home fixture, never having a home draw. But I'm looking at. I'd like to pit ourselves against Leicester. I think that would be an interesting game. They play free-flowing football at the moment, sitting top of the league, but have been turned over by Middlesbrough a couple of weeks ago. I think that would be an interesting tie. So for those who are interested, that would be ball 1 and ball 3. George, you went for Coventry. That's number 7, George.
Right.
Okay, Magnus, who would you fancy in the FA Cup?
Well, I was thinking similar to George. I was thinking Coventry, but I have a little bit of interest in meeting Wolves. Obviously, we're playing them next weekend, so Wolves is also my father supports Wolves, and I think that might be an interesting game. We're about the same level, but I just want that monkey off our backs. So I'd like the lowest possible rated team. On the other hand, as you say, we can beat anybody on a good day, and hopefully this was a turning point, like when after our relegation battle against Leeds. Hopefully this was a turning point, because it was a hard-fought win yesterday, and I would like to progress and get this monkey off our backs and actually play for a trophy, and then hopefully all of us can be there and watch the game.
Okay, quarter-final draw is now starting. David Seaman is pulling the balls out. So number 6 is first out. Wolves or Brighton will play.
Seaman balls.
Number 7, which is Coventry City.
Damn, I would have liked them just simply so the Mackhams could tie themselves in knots, asking if we could both lose.
Number 5 next out, lads. Nottingham Forest or Manchester United. Of course, Newcastle went to Manchester United and beat them in the Carabao Cup.
Here it comes.
Give us them.
Number 4, Liverpool or Southampton.
Oh. Ball number 1's been in the freezer since lunchtime.
Here we go, guys.
Get frostbite on his finger.
Number 2, Chelsea or Leeds. You know where this is going, lads. Leicester City, innit?
Give the Man City.
Yeah. Or Man City.
Number 3, Leicester City.
We've
Newcastle have got Manchester City. Is it home or away? Number 8 is first. We're in Man City away in the quarterfinals.
Oh, look at that.
Number 1's been in the freezer since bloody lunchtime.
Oh dear. Oh well, we actually knocked them out of the Carabao Cup, so let's not get too disheartened by this.
Yeah. Well, go on, Magnus. You go with it. What do you think?
Man City away. I mean, I did a horrible mistake. One preseason, I took my son. There was a game being played here in Iceland between Man City and West Ham, and I brought my son there. So he's a Man City fan after that all. What a horrible mistake that was. So this is going to be a tough one, because either I'm, these are one of those games that I almost can't celebrate, because it's either of one of us is going to be upset. But as long as we're still getting our weapons back, then and this is what happening slowly but surely. We saw Anderson come back. We've seen Willock come back. These are strong midfield players. Is Man City even going to put their best team against us? So I mean, I'll be cautiously optimistic on this one.
Okay, Al-Walid, thoughts on the draw?
Well, actually, and to be honest, I just want to be, and we want to be lucky. We aren't in that. Sometimes it's good that you are not that candidate, but hopefully, I wish if we go to the final, or at least the semi-final, because I remember maybe 3 or 4 seasons ago we play against Manchester City in the quarter-final, and we lose with Steve Bruce 5-0 that time. So I think this is going to be. I feel lucky about this cup this season.
I hope you're right, Mitch.
frustrating more than anything else. And I know I joke about the ball being in the freezer since lunchtime, but by God, you've got to start to wonder, haven't you, with the draws we've had this season?
Yeah.
You know, is it the one with the slightly sandpapery texture on the ball? It's you've got to look at it and think, God, as somebody just said in the comments, if it wasn't for bad luck, we'd have no luck at all. But at the same time, cup competitions, if we were to go and win away at Man City, you progress to the next round, all being well and good, and we'll have probably forgotten Blackburn by then. Had we gone further in the Carabao Cup, wouldn't have been talking about the away win at Man City, really, to be fair. Would have been talking about what happened in the final, etc. So look, we've got now to lose and everything to gain, and hopefully they'll have pulled their heads out their asses by then and look more like the team we know they can be.
Good way of looking at it, Kev.
Well, if you want to win a cup, you got to beat the best, right? You know, that's how I look at it. You got to go in with positivity. We can't look at it negatively. We're in a quarter-final of an FA Cup. Yes, they're the best team in the world, but you know, if we adopt the mentality of wanting to go and win it and get into the semi-final and go and win this thing, well, let's go and do it, lads. Put your big boy pants on and go and actually perform and make it an actual FA Cup tie, like Blackburn done to us last night and pushed them all the way. Yes, we could get beat, whatever. Just give it a go. We want, again, the kind of phrase, we want a team that tries. Well, we might have to do a little bit more than try. We might have to have a lot more quality and get a result. And, you know, it's the FA Cup. Anything can happen in the FA Cup. That's why it's the greatest cup competition in the world. Anything can happen in it, you know. So, hey, bring them on. I'll be positive. Bring it on. Let's go and see what happens. And let's go and knock the Club World Champions out of the FA Cup and get to the semi-final.
Steve? Oh, you're on mute, mate.
Yeah, I was just going to say, come on, Eddie, let's get the players lifted for this. Come on, the players. Let's see you respond to what Eddie pushes you on. That's all we can do. We just got to go out. You've got to beat what's put in front of you. If my WhatsApp feeds anything to go by, apparently, and it's true, we all know it, the Premier League draws corrupt. The Premier League's corrupt. The FA Cup draws corrupt. Everything's diabolical. Where you name it, I've ever every curse under the sun is now shown this. I've got everything from the polite from Bill, which is god awful, to something absolutely shocking that I can't repeat from Paul. So,
yeah, not good at all. Stu, are you still coming over?
Yep. I'll come over. I'll tell you what, as Kev said there, if we're going to win the cup, which we've all said at some stage that we're going to do this season, we're going to have to play them at one time or other. Why not when they're amongst the quarterfinals of the Champions League? But we don't have to perform to go through. And that's the beauty of the cup. We can just have a smash and grab, beat them on penalties, get through the semi-finals, another one-off. We've got players coming back. That's as positive as we can be. Why not? If we're good paper, we've got no chance. Let's be brutally honest about it. We shouldn't stand a chance. But how many times have Newcastle turned teams over when they shouldn't stand a chance? Remember, Cambridge came and beat big Newcastle just last season. So the season before, Sheffield Wednesday last season. Why can't we raise our game? Because they'll look at us and think, right, this is quite an easy tie for us, and they'll start resting players. And you never know. We might just catch them on a cold one and us on a hot one. But I'll be there. I'm going to go.
Jules pointing out that the Club Champions League games around then, yeah, 100% right. I mean, you know, it's when you play teams. But we've got to improve in the next couple of weeks. We've really got to find our mojo, and we've really got to start upping the levels collectively. And whatever's gone on in the dressing room, or you know, whatever's going wrong on the training pitch, it needs to be sorted out. But George, final word to you tonight, mate. Just your views on the draw.
Magpie, Mr. Optimistic. I think we can go and, as somebody said, we can do a smash and grab. There's no reason why we shouldn't. What a dream. Absolutely nothing to lose. They've just got to do their best, and you know, they can fall back on things that they've done last season. The only team in the Premiership that didn't let Manchester City score, the only team in the Premiership that didn't let Haaland score, Newcastle United. That's got some. If they've got any pride at all, they'll want to do that at all. That for themselves, never mind for anything else. If they haven't, then we don't deserve to be there. They don't deserve to have that bloody black and white strip on if they can't put their pride in that in an FA Cup quarter final against the champions of Europe. So we've got a couple of weeks to get the attitude right, get the fitness right, do all the things we need to, and just go for it. Is my attitude, and I still think somebody said smash and grab penalties. I don't care how we get through, we'll get through. And Kev's absolutely right. If you're going to play them, you're going to play them sometime, whether it's 4th round, 5th round, final. You've got to play them. So there's no point in being frightened of them. You've got to give them a go, and that's all I want. I want to see 11 black and white hearts left on that bloody pitch when they're finished, and then I'll be happy.
Yeah, Man City away. Can you believe it? Al Walid, what's your views? You were just about to give us your views on who you would like at home, but obviously the draw started. So yeah, give us your views.
I thought it still didn't start because I have some lag in internet, so I didn't I thought they'd do this quickly.
Manchester City away, Al Walid.
Oh,
I think that says it all, Al Walid. Everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. Big thanks to Magnus for making his Geordies here. Geordies their debut. Great to have you on, my friend, and good to have all the lads as usual. I'm back tomorrow night, 6 o'clock with Super Mac and Gibbo, and then Friday night, 5 o'clock with the Amigos. Saturday, we've got those were the days with George, season 1999-2000, and then back 6 o'clock with the professionals on Sunday with me, Stu, and Mitch. But for now, good night from me and good night from the lads. Take care, lads.
Everybody.
Cheers, everyone.
Nice to speak to you all, fellas, and